Hello and welcome, everyone. Very excited about the conversation we'll be having today. This is completely focused on you learning what you want to know about coach training, coaching certification, and credentialing. Many of you submitted questions ahead of time. I think we did a good job of building that pertinent information in, and your questions are invited all the way through. So there's a couple of ways we can do that. First, I have to give you the full disclosure. Yes, we're recording this. Yes, it's going to go on YouTube. And I will also send each and every one of you a link to the recording on YouTube so you can access it again. That disclosure means if you want to come on live, simply know we're going to hear your voice in that recording. If you're okay with that, we love it. It's so much more fun to have more of a conversation going. At the same time, knowing not everyone wants to be in that recording, you are more than welcome to put your questions in the chat box, and I will be monitoring that all the way through the conversation. So what do we have lined up for this conversation? We will define coaching. We'll talk coaching statistics and insights, walk through our staircase to success coaching model and process, discuss the pros and cons of certification, the reasons people choose certification with the Center for Coaching Certification, what to look for in a training program wherever you decide to go, opportunities for you as a coach, and we'll do a review of the programs that are offered. First off, the definition of coaching. And to me, each and every time I read this, there are a couple of things that really jump out. The first one is partnering. Coaching is very different than any other profession because instead of the coach coming in as the expert who has the answers, the coach is coming in as a partner with a process that truly empowers the client to discover their own answers. It's a thought-provoking, love that, creative process. It means it's fun, it is challenging, and it inspires clients so that they maximize their own personal and professional potential. That definition comes from the International Coaching Federation. Several of you had questions about them, so let's go into it. First off, they are a nonprofit. It is a professional membership organization of coaching professionals. They're the gold standard in coaching. There are many different organizations like the ICF. ICF is the largest globally. They are at the forefront in terms of the coaching profession. One of the conversations we often have is that coaching will either self-regulate or governments around the world will step in and regulate it. Right now, it really looks like we'll be successful with the self-regulation, and it looks like that'll be with ICF, the International Coaching Federation. They provide us with the code of ethics. There's a ton of research in that code, and all members are held accountable to the code of ethics, which is a good thing. They also have standards. So they have standards for approving coach training programs. And when we get into talking about what to look for, that is the single most important thing. Has it been approved? Their standard for membership is 60 hours of coach training. They also have standards for credentialing, and I've got an infographic to show you how that works. So multiple levels to become a member of the ICF, and that is something you do separately. It's your own choice whether or not you do that. In the coaching world, it's really a minimum standard for saying, okay, yeah, I'm a coach. 60 hours of training. If we give an analogy for that, it's much like saying, okay, now I have an associate's degree. Then the first level of credentialing with ICF is much like saying, okay, I got my degree. It's called the ACC credential. It requires 60 hours of coach training, 100 hours of experience as a coach, and the majority of those must be paid hours. They require you to work with a mentor coach for 10 hours. You'll submit a recording of yourself coaching that will be assessed and must pass that assessment, and take an exam called the Coach Knowledge Assessment. The next level of credentialing, the PCC, is much like saying, okay, now I got a master's degree. And increasingly, we are finding this is what organizations are looking for. It requires 125 hours of training and 500 hours of experience as a coach. You do the mentor coaching, and at the PCC level, you must submit 2 recordings of yourself coaching. If you did the ACC first, and many people opt for that route because they get that first credential and they continue on the journey to earning the PCC, you don't have to take the exam twice. If you did it once, you're done. So you're good to go. And that's good news. In terms of the MCC credential, you are required to earn your PCC first. So our focus today will be on basic training, developing coaching skills for you in whatever capacity you work. We'll talk about moving toward membership and the first couple levels of credentialing. What does that journey look like? There are things we offer. There are things that are only offered by the ICF, and there are things you do independently to move toward earning that. So with us, the first program we offer is called the Certified Professional Coach. We will give you additional details on that as we move forward. It's a 30-hour program. Then the second level of training is called the Certified Master Coach. That's 35 hours of training. The reason these are offered separately is to make it work for people. Bottom line, you can plan your schedule and your budget based on when it works for you to take each class. So it's an a la carte approach. You also will have the opportunity of packaging options, and we'll explore that. Once you've completed the professional coach and the master coach classes with us, you have the hours required to join the ICF as a member. And then you're making a choice. Do you want to move toward the ACC credential, or do you want to move toward the PCC credential? And if you go to the ACC credential, you can then continue on to the PCC credential. So going the route of the ACC credential, what's next? You're working on your experience hours as a coach. If you are inside of an organization and coaching other people, those hours can count. It just can't be a direct report. They allow typically 75 hours paid, 25 hours unpaid. During COVID, they have adjusted that. So 70 of the hours can be paid and 30 unpaid. You work with a mentor coach, and there are very specific parameters around the mentor coaching. The mentor coach has specific responsibilities. That is a program that we offer. It has to be 10 hours. And the first day and the last day of mentor coaching must be more than 3 months apart. Your mentor coach is going to support you in getting your recording, in preparing, pulling everything together. They work with you on having that recording of yourself coaching and knowing, is it going to pass that assessment? When you submit all of these pieces to the ICF, they verify your training, your mentor coaching. You've got your log for the coaching experience. They assess the recording. That's when they'll have you take the exam. And you do complete that independently. They give you up to 3 hours to do it. With that successful completion, that's how you earn your ACC credential. Now, whether you do the ACC first and then go back and continue on the journey to the PCC, or you go straight to the PCC, for the PCC, it's 500 hours of experience. So it's logging a lot of coaching hours. The next class that you're taking in terms of your training hours is the Certified Coach Specialist, and you're choosing which area. whether you want it to be academic, business, career, executive, life, or wellness coaching, that is up to you. There are different areas of specialty for that. The next class is called Coaching Experience. And the reason for that class is because time and again, people are sharing, I want to practice, I want to practice, I want to practice. And that's what that supports. You complete your mentor coaching. You have 2 recordings of yourself as a coach, and these are different recordings typically than what you use from your ACC. They're assessed at a different level. And then you take the exam if you didn't already take it, and that's how you earn your PCC. So hopefully that clarified all the different questions that people had on this. Do feel free to add questions. If you actually want to come on live and chat, raise your hand, let me know. In the meantime, I'll start sharing a few quotes and statistics. Ray Williams cites coaching as the second fastest growing profession, with IT being cited as first. Forbes magazine, I love this quote. Do you have a coach? If not, you could be limiting your career success. And it is backed up by the research. Amico Corporation, which is now part of BP, did an evaluation of coaching over a 10-year period of time. I love the longevity of that one. And here's what they found. The people that had a coach had improved performance, increased rating of potential for advancement, and look at that number, 50% higher average salary increases. Did that impact their career? Of course it did. Absolutely an exciting thing to look at and recognize how powerful the coaching process is. It is an organizational development tool of choice for leaders and emerging leaders. Harvard Business Review looked at the reason organizations bring coaches in. And here's what they found. 48% of the time, it is to develop high potentials or facilitate transition. Back to leaders and emerging leaders. So it makes sense. 26% of the time, it's to act as a sounding board. Where this is seen most commonly is coaching in the C-suite. Executives at this level are not looking to help you for help to figure out their action steps or that kind of thing. What they want is an opportunity to think out loud and to have that thinking challenged and expanded. And that's where working with a coach is so powerful. It definitely has an impact in the organization. Now, it used to be people thought, oh, I thought you got a coach if there was a problem. Let's think about that. Coaching is an investment. If a company is investing in a coach, it's because they want that individual to be successful. When people are negotiating for positions, oftentimes the ask for having a coach is part of that negotiation. At the same time, when an organization sees a derailing behavior that is getting in the way for a leader or future leader, this is an opportunity to have it addressed so that leader is going to be successful and effective in their role. So it's a powerful tool. An interesting insight came out of this study, and that is 76% of the time in these coaching engagements, personal issues get addressed. And every once in a while, somebody will say, well, wait a minute, isn't it supposed to be all about the job? And the response to that is, it's a very holistic conversation. And we know that whatever somebody has going on a personal level, it does impact them in the workplace. And so when they have the opportunity to get it addressed, it means while they're at work, they're focused and effective. This number is actually growing. We're seeing it more and more. When an individual hires a coach, what are their reasons? This study was done by the International Coaching Federation, and the top reasons include optimizing their own performance, increasing their own productivity. It goes back to advancing their career. Improving communication skills, a big area. Expanding career opportunities. I love this one. Increasing self-esteem. And it's funny because sometimes we think, oh, we're not really supposed to talk about that, or how do you really make a difference there? And let's be real, we're all human. And that means to different degrees at different times, we struggle with our own confidence and self esteem. And that is definitely a factor in terms of success. They want to improve their work life balance. Oh, we're seeing that one for sure. We've been seeing it for a long time, and the pandemic has brought it out even more. And then business management strategies, because many people that are successful in the corporate world then go into having their own business. And they're great at whatever the product or service is. And working with a coach really elevates their management and growth of the business. Fortune magazine said business coaching is attracting America's top CEOs because it works. There is an average 600% return on the investment. So for every dollar they put in to get that kind of a return on investment, there's not very many places that happens. There's more research on this. Metrics Global, one of the commonly cited studies, said that coaching brought about that 529% ROI. And when you add in the financial benefits from the talent retention, that jumps up to 788% return on investment. Phenomenal. A very different study looked at productivity, and the typical go-to is training. Very important. It increased productivity 22.4%. When you combine that training with coaching, the productivity gain jumps to 88%. This study was done by Public Personnel Management. Again, phenomenal. Xerox Corporation did a similar study, and here's what they found. If you do training without follow-up coaching, 87% of the skills change that was gained through that training is lost. It's telling us very clearly coaching is a tool that works and it makes sense. The next big question people have is, okay, so if I go into coaching, how is somebody going to decide whether or not I'm the coach for them? Harvard Business Review looked into that, and they said when people hire a coach, they're looking for two things: experience in a similar setting and a clear methodology. Now, the experience in the similar setting, that's something you bring to the table. Whether your experience is in the corporate space, in HR, talent development, whatever it is, they want to know that you've been in and around this space where they function and live. It means they want to know you get them. As far as the clear methodology, that's what you're considering coach training for, because whatever training program you're doing, you want to walk out of there knowing how to coach, having the tools, having the process for coaching somebody and coaching successfully and effectively. Let's dig into what the coaching relationship is actually like. The analogy we're going to use is that of building a staircase. If you're going to build a staircase, the first thing you do is put the framework in place. And as with any other profession, that starts with training, developing your competency and skills in that profession, and having the code of ethics. That is true whatever people do. And it is very true in the coaching world. The impact we have as coaches is directly related to developing the competencies and living the ethics. With the framework in place, we're ready to add steps. The first step is an agreement. The agreement happens in 3 phases. The first phase is the initial conversation with somebody. What is coaching? What isn't coaching? What is this all about? The second phase is what we call a formal agreement. In many parts of the world, the formal agreement is written as a best practice, and in other parts of the world, a written agreement is an insult. And in that case, it's a verbal agreement. So it's based on what makes sense for the client. The third phase of the agreement happens every single coaching session. And that is having the agreement of what the client wants to accomplish during that particular conversation, during that 60-minute session or whatever time period it is, and getting very clear on that. With the agreement in place, the next step is understanding. And this is happening on many levels. It is incumbent on the coach to understand the client. Who are they? How are they thinking? How are they processing? How are they functioning? And in discussing what the client wants, understanding their goals and objectives for the conversation. And as you move into the conversation further, understanding their potential barriers, their opportunities, their resources, etc. And it continues to build, and it supports developing rapport. Rapport is the number one indicator of success in a coaching relationship. It means that there's a level of trust and openness between the coach and the client. It's so important because sometimes the conversations are tough, and the client has to know that they can trust their coach. They can say things that will be kept confidential and that the coach is on their side. So, whatever that difficult conversation is, this is a place where they can have it safely. This, in turn, supports the step of communication. For the coach, it's listening and listening deeply and on many levels, listening cumulatively, hearing what the client is saying and what they're not saying. It is the coach using language that is clear and respectful. And it means the coach is asking powerful questions. Coaching questions are completely different than any other type of question, and often are the key that unlocks the insight and the awareness for the client. The questions support the process of exploration that the client is going through, which in turn brings them to developing their strategies and action plans. And that is designed to move them to the doorway called success, with success being defined by the client. This explains how the relationship works. Now consider the process itself. It is a common best practice in the coaching world to start with an introductory session. The idea behind this is for the coach and the client to get to know each other and to make sure this is a good match. With rapport being the number one indicator of success, it's absolutely essential that as coaches, we make sure, hey, am I the right person for this client? For the client to know that this is the right coach for them. When the coach and the client determine that, yes, this is a good match, this is going to be effective, it is going to support the client and provide value, then we move forward. An opening session is ideally a big picture exploration. What this does, first off, is support the client in really exploring what they want, because there's a difference between what they think they should be doing and what they really want to be doing and what's really important to them. And that big picture exploration opens the space for the client to identify what the priorities really are. It also is an opportunity to recognize competing priorities and influencing factors. From there, the big question becomes, how is the client going to stay on track? It's so common for us to have goals, New Year's resolutions, and then 2 weeks later, we can't even remember what they were. What is the process the coach has to ensure the client stays focused on what it is they want and truly engages in doing the work for meaningful change? And there's a powerful tool that is part of that process. From there, on an ongoing basis, each conversation, each coaching session, the client is prioritizing their focus, what they want to accomplish. They're supported in developing their own strategies and action plans, and in taking time to acknowledge their progress and successes along the way. The average coaching relationship lasts 12 months. We often talk about a best practice of a minimum commitment to 6 sessions because coaching is a process over time. And if we continue from there, great. Now, some relationships will be shorter, some will be several years. The bottom line in the coaching profession is that we continue only as long as it's providing value to the client. Now, when it is time to close out the relationship, they've accomplished what they can, that's it on time or budget, whatever the reason, how is the coach setting them up for the long term? Truly partnering with them so that they consider their process after the coaching is over. And when we have a closing session, it's a look at what the client did accomplish during that coaching relationship. And it's also to say, as much as we're closing the relationship, the door stays open because clients do come back in the future. And it's important that they know you're available to them. When you think about the certification involved for becoming a coach, one study done by the International Coaching Federation said 83% of individuals who had a coach felt it important for the coach to be certified or credentialed. And as people become more aware of coaching and how it works, that number is continuing to climb. What are the pros and cons of certification? Of course, I want to say, hey, it's all pros. And let's be real, we know there are cons as well. And the cons are the same cons for anything you look into: time and money. Think about it this way: if it weren't for the time and the money involved in getting your coaching certification, it becomes a no-brainer because it's a skill set that serves us in whatever we do in life. At the same time, it is a commitment in terms of time and money. On the pro side, it is a tremendous opportunity for career advancement. If you are in any kind of leadership capacity, coaching is seen as a skill set that is absolutely essential for leaders. It is also cited as one of the skills for HR professionals to have, for talent development professionals, for org development professionals, for change management professionals, project managers got to have coaching skills. It opens up so much in terms of advancing whatever career you're in. Are there jobs for coaches? Of course, more and more organizations have coaching programs. And so it creates opportunity in that way as well. And then for some of you, the idea is to have coaching as a part-time business or a full-time business, or to add coaching services to an existing business as an additional service that you provide. When people decide to get certified and become a coach, how do they decide where to go? Well, that's one of the reasons most of us are here is, how do you pick a school? Because it's tough. Not all training is created equal. Every single program is completely different in the approach, in the content, etc. Yes, you want that ICF approval so that you know you're learning the competencies. How that's done varies widely. So, how do people decide? Here's what we've been told. First off, looking for a program that's credible. And we'll give you some things that talk to you about credibility. knowing that you're going to have tools for doing the coaching that you do. For example, when you graduate, we have a coaching login page where you have a ton of resources as well as other support that we offer. That ongoing support is a big factor for people. We do ongoing continuing education, Q&A calls. We have opportunities for you as a coach. So many, many different possibilities. Another big reason people take this class is the professional development factor. So that means to you, if you have a professional designation that requires continuing education, this is an opportunity to fulfill that requirement. And we'll speak to that again in another slide or two where we can show you what you can look at. Personal development is a big one. People come out of coach training absolutely loving how much they gained on a personal level. And another benefit for graduates is the assessment dashboards that we provide you so that as a coach, where you have clients that want to use assessment tools, they want that evidence-based coaching, you have a dashboard for giving those assessments at wholesale. In terms of the time and money consideration, that big con area, there are training programs that are a few hours or training programs that are 10 years. A tip to give you, wherever you look, any training program that is less than 30 hours is not going to be ICF approved. So please know that you really want to consider that. In the meantime, we've got a question, and this is a great question. I love questions. Is team coaching different than one-on-one coaching? Does it use different approach, tools, etc., different training required? Fabulous question. So one of the things we do, as a matter of fact, in our master coach class is teach group and team coaching. It's a big part of what we do. The core competencies are true for team and group coaching, and ICF also has additional competencies for doing team coaching. And that's an important knowledge base as well when you're really moving that to the next level. So it's a yes and question. You want to learn coaching. That's your starting point. Learn the individual coaching. And yes, it expands out when you move into group and team coaching. Thank you for that. Okay, back to the level of training. In terms of location, and of course, this information is pre-COVID, and now that we're starting to come out of COVID, depending on where you're located, we're going to have opportunities post-COVID as well. There are programs that are completely online. There are programs you travel to. At the Center for Coaching Certification, we have done online programs for over 10 years. That's always been available to you. We also do classes in major cities, and we do classes for private groups as well. So you've got options in terms of the location. As far as cost goes, you will find that the programs that are a couple hours or a day or two, you can $400, very inexpensive. And I am giving you US numbers. I realize in some parts of the world that translates, and others it's a very different equation. Other programs, you're talking 20,000. And I'm going to say go even higher, because when you're thinking about major universities, etc., it's a big bite. At the Center for Coaching Certification, the first level training we do, the Certified Professional Coach, is $1,695. Both the Certified Master Coach and the Certified Coach Specialist programs are $1,995, and the Coaching Experience class is $1,895. If you're putting these together as a package, when you decide to go for the ACC credential, we combine the Certified Professional Coach program, the Certified Master Coach program, and the Mentor Coaching program to provide everything a school can give you for moving toward that credential. If you are looking to go from the ACC and continue on to the PCC, we then do a package of the Certified Coach Specialist, the Coaching Experience class, and the Mentor Coaching. And then for the PCC cohort, it's all of the programs cited packaged together, and you go start to finish all the way through to the PCC. This gives you options, and you can see from the price point on your screen, you've got a savings. So the ACC cohort is $4,700 for all three programs, $4,850 for the ACC to PCC, and $8,500 for the complete PCC package. Digging into what to look for, we talked about credibility and other considerations. So the single most important thing for you to look for wherever you go is that ICF approval. Make sure whatever school you find has that and offers that for you. We have had people come to us so frustrated if they can't find that. Now, the next thing to consider, I talked about professional development. Many times, if an organization is paying for training, they want to know that you'll earn continuing education units. That is true if you're maintaining a designation, such as in HR, talent development. We've also had nurses, attorneys, financial planners, and quite a few mental health professionals that take the program because we are accredited by ICF, the International Accreditors for Continuing Education and Training, to offer those CEUs. There are many colleges and universities that accept these credits as well. These two factors are huge in terms of credibility of your program. Another big one is ACTO. ACTO is the Association of Coach Training Organizations. It is to coach training schools what ICF is to individual coaches. And at ACTO, we have a code of ethics for coach trainers. We also have competencies for coach trainers. It's a fabulous organization and provides continuing education opportunities for coach trainers. AICI is the Association of Image Consultants International. Many people who are in image consulting, as with other professions, find coaching to be a tremendous value add in terms of the services they provide. So these are easily recognized, identified markers you can find on a website for a coach training program. Now, I had a question on one of these, the ICF one. They have what are called ACSTH coach training programs. It means approved coach specific training hours. When it is an ACSTH program, it's giving you the option of the a la carte approach where you can take 30 hours, take another 30 hours, etc. They're more cost effective for you. The ACTP is like putting everything together in one package where all of your training and your mentor coaching, etc., is in one package. They both have the same standards in terms of content around what is covered. Another thing ICF does is approve what's called CCE, Continuing Coach Education Programs. We have several of those that we offer. This is for coaches who are already members of ICF or credentialed with ICF, and they're looking for continuing education to maintain that. So for example, we've got a fabulous program called the Science of Positivity. It's a continuing education program. And we have submitted our diversity and equity and coaching program as well. So those opportunities are in addition to the regular coach training. So another good question. Thank you for that. All right. Who actually participates in the training? We see a lot of professionals. We see members of ATD, the the Association for Talent Development, professional trainers, facilitators. We see HR professionals from the Society for Human Resource Management and the Human Resource Certification Institute, financial planners from FPA, National Small Business Association, business owners, AICI, and ICF and ISET. Yes, those are accrediting bodies. And we see a lot of members from these organizations come through the programs. They understand what the accreditations mean, and this program serves them well. Mental health professionals, consultants, project managers, and most significantly, the people that come through training have a passion for empowering others, absolutely interested in making a difference for people. Wherever you go for your training, yes, credibility is a factor. And here's another key. There are core competencies from the ICF that you want to make sure are fully addressed in each coach training program. Very specifically, the first area of competency identified by the ICF is what's called the foundation. And the specific competencies here include demonstrates an ethical practice and embodies a coaching mindset. There's a lot more detail to these competencies. And in each of our programs, we talk about it. We talk about what does that mean? How is that applied? And we provide specific techniques and tools for applying these, living these competencies. The next area of competency is co-creating the relationship. This includes 3 different competencies. The first one is establishing and maintaining the agreement. Next is cultivating trust and safety, which speaks to developing rapport, and then maintains presence. Our third area of competency, communicating effectively, includes listens actively and evokes awareness. And the fourth area of competency is facilitates client growth. Each and every one of these competencies is foundational in the coach training that we do and in the work we do as coaches. So knowing that you're fully developing these skills in your coach training is essential. That's a huge look for whatever program you do. Who's going to benefit from coach training? Of course, I love saying everyone. And it really is all of us. I often have said that I am a better mother, grandmother, and partner because of what I learned in coach training. I'm a better friend. I'm a better colleague because of the skills we develop in the coach training. And yes, of course, professionals in all walks of life benefit from coach training. A few quotes that really bring this home. Gallup poll, 86% of employees think their bosses are uninspiring. And you've probably heard some of the statistics about how many people leave a job because of their boss. It isn't the organization they're leaving, it's the boss that they're leaving. This is huge because back to coaching being a skill set for anybody in a leadership capacity, bosses that develop their coaching skills are more effective and they're inspiring. Harvard Business Review talks about coaching being integral to the fabric of a learning culture. And it is a skill set that organizations want developed. They talk about having a coaching culture. In terms of the skills that you develop personally, okay, so somebody asked a question, how many professional development credits are earned for SHRM? So it's based on the hours. And the way SHRM does it is they accept all credits that are ISET. So I mentioned earlier, we're accredited by ISET to offer the CEUs. So every 10 hours of training is 1 CEU, continuing education unit, and SHRM automatically accepts that because it's accredited by ISET. So the professional coach class is 30 hours or 3 CEUs. The master coach class is 35 hours or 3.5 CEUs as examples. So hopefully that clarifies that question for you. If you have a follow-up, let me know. Communication is a skill set that absolutely gets developed during coach training. It's ironic. Many of us say, "Oh, I'm a good listener." And if you ask people, "Do you think other people listen well?" Oftentimes they'll say, "No, not so well." So there's a gap or a disconnect there. And there really are specific techniques to deepen that listening and the impact of it. Assertive language, and there's many definitions of that. Well, what we mean by that is clear and respectful language. And then questions, learning coaching questions. Another wonderful skill that comes out of coach training is a people skills, learning to recognize different people, their style. Who are they? How do they think? How do they process? How do they function? And how do I flex to them based on who they are so that the coaching provided truly is in service to them? And then goal setting, a process for setting goals. And it's interesting. There are some very important pieces to how we define the goals that support the work that will go into it. In terms of coaching as a business opportunity, a few numbers for you. Again, these are US based. I do realize we have people here internationally, so it's a matter of translating. In the US, coaching ranges from $100 per coaching hour to $3,500 per coaching hour. The median is $500. If I break that down, typically life coaching is $100 to $200 an hour. Career coaching, when the individual engages you, is often in that same range. If you're talking business coaching, which is going to be the small to medium-sized business, it's more commonly in the $200 to $400 range. And when you're talking executive coaching, it is typically $400 to $600 per session. So give you a little bit of a sense, depending on the type of coaching. 2.356 billion US dollars are spent worldwide on coaching, and that number keeps growing. At the ICF, as of November of last year, they had 38,249 member coaches around the world. 18,896 of them were at the ACC credential level, 13,165 at the PCC credential level. As you can see, far fewer at the MCC level. That's more commonly people that are doing the coach training, for example. So as a business, tremendous opportunity, whether it's an add-on service, a part-time business, or a full-time business. Moving into the training we actually provide, what does it look like? How does it work? First off, all of our training is built on developing the competencies and really living the ethics from the ICF. The first thing we know is that every person that comes to our training comes with a level of competence. You already bring strengths and skills to the table, and it's a matter of creating this synergy. How do those strengths and skills translate into the coaching strengths and skills, and that in turn being the synergy with your client? Confidence. Confidence is essential for a successful coaching relationship, and it's on all sides. The coach must be confident in themselves as a coach, in the coaching process they're providing, and in the client's ability to be successful. Likewise, the client must be confident in their coach, in the coaching process, and in their own ability to be successful. So we focus on the tools that support this, how to truly empower that level of confidence that's going to impact success, and the awareness that it really is possible. And of course, choice. Coaching is all about client choice. So it's an opportunity for the client to discover and strategize. As coaches, we're there as a partner during this process and truly supporting their choice. So, what does that look like in the programs? For the certified professional coach class, we start with our online classes. The big difference is we actually go on camera so we can see each other and have that interaction. It's a lot of fun. We do a class called About Coaching. We're talking about what it is and what it isn't, that initial conversation, that part one, if you will, of the agreement. Then we move into each of the competencies. Hey, what is this telling us? What does this mean? And we're doing an overview of all of them. The second class is on the code of ethics. We have so much fun in that class. Sometimes when I say that, people are thinking, what? Ethics fun? It is fun. We have a really good time in this class. Yes, we're going to talk about what the code of ethics means, and we're going to do it with examples and case studies and discussion. So it's a super fun class. When we move into understanding your client, we invite everybody to come with a sense of humor because we're talking about us as people, and everybody has a different way of thinking and processing and being, and we're different at different times. And how are you going to recognize who your client is and really understand where they're at? And then when their energy shifts or where they're at shifts because of whatever it is they're talking about or working on, how are you going to know that and know how to flex to them? So it's a fabulous exploration. In the communication class, very powerful, specific techniques for how you ask your questions, for the word choice, how to be direct and respectful in what you say, and how to ask the amazing coaching questions. Focus and motivation provides you with insight that supports developing rapport and really empowering the client. It's an awareness of their language patterns and their thought patterns and how that plays out into setting goals and moving forward. With each of these classes, there is a homework assignment. The first couple of classes, it will involve additional reading. And then the next three classes, you'll practice the techniques that are discussed in class and write about the impact they have. And what's so great about that is they're techniques that we use in our conversations with friends, with family, with colleagues, wherever we go. And you'll have an opportunity to practice them wherever you happen to be. Then we do a group session. This is an opportunity for Q&A, to look at resources that are available, to cover whatever else it is you want to talk about. From there, we move into the coaching practicum. And in class, what will happen is you'll be assigned partners. So you'll have somebody that you coach, somebody that will coach you, and somebody that you observe coaching. And it's a fabulous experience, absolutely essential in any training you look at. It is an ICF requirement. And so what's important to know is, okay, if I'm going to be successful as a coach, I've got to experience being coached. And of course, I want a chance to practice my coaching. And being an observer is powerful because we get to sit back and observe what's going on both sides. So it's an amazing experience going through it. At the end, we have a case study. It's actually a very simple outline of what happens from an initial conversation all the way through an ethical challenge. We discuss it during class, and then you turn that in. After you complete this level of certification, you will have access to the monthly Q&A call, in addition to all of the other resources that are provided coaches. including recordings on the business of coaching and marketing yourself as a coach, as well as coaching sessions. And of course, I mentioned earlier, we do have many, many continuing education opportunities, both free and really wonderful content CCE programs. For the Certified Master Coach program, the online classes include group and team coaching. We start with that because we're also going to include that as part of the practicum where you'll do that kind of coaching. Then we move into a deeper dive of the 4 different areas of competencies, talking about what it really is to demonstrate that competency. We point out things that it isn't because some people learn really well by saying, okay, it's not that. And then we point out what it is and really focus on how you demonstrate each of the competencies in each area. And we go through them right in order. Then we do a class on time and money. Just as those are the cons for taking coach training, every client you work with, time and money are influencing factors. Whatever decision they're making, these play into it. There are, by the way, many other influencing factors. This sets up that comfort level with knowing, okay, there's some things that are uncomfortable that affect this, and we've got to be okay with that. We do a final debrief, which is of all the coaching practicum elements, and I'll talk about those in a moment. In the Master Coach program, your homework is split in half. You do some before and some after class. It's a powerful learning tool for adult learners. So we'll give you specific questions to respond to. And it's you reflecting, it deepens the learning tremendously in terms of where you're at before and then after we have the conversation as well. For the practicum, yes, part of it is the group coaching. These are scheduled just as the classes are scheduled. And for one of the group sessions, you'll be the coach or a co-coach. And for the other groups, you'll be in the group participating in the coaching. Incredible learning. Then you do individual coaching as well. And for that, you'll be interviewing your classmates and involved in selecting from your classmates who you want as a coach. Everybody will be assigned coach and client. You'll schedule individual sessions with you, whoever you're working with, and your trainer. And then you'll also have a chance to observe recordings of your classmates' sessions and complete your observations that way. At the end, you'll write a report on a coaching engagement, whether it's the one from class or an outside coaching conversation. The Certified Coach Specialist program classes include looking at the competencies and the strengths that go with that based on your area of specialty. We do the deep dive into the areas of competency. And at this level, we're going much, much further by incorporating what are called the PCC markers and talking about how you are assessed in terms of demonstrating the competency. And that awareness deepens your learning of the application of the competencies. We do a class on challenges and trends because as coaches, we've got those challenges and we want to stay aware of what the trends are in the profession. The debrief, similar to the other program, is of all the coaching that happens. In this level class, we give you reading assignments before class and then report assignments after class. The coaching practicum will again include the group coaching and the individual coaching that is done, and it is also a final report. For the coaching experience class, it's all about practice, practice, practice. We'll review ICF's core competencies and we'll review how to evaluate each other based on those competencies. Then we'll talk group and team coaching and set ourselves up for that part of the practicum. You'll have group sessions and you will have individual sessions as well. You'll have 5 where you're the coach, 5 where you're the client, and 5 you will observe via recording. And we do a debrief. For the mentor coaching, those of you looking at one of the credentials, it includes 3 individual sessions. One of them, we have a 360 of your coaching competencies where you evaluate yourself and you invite clients to evaluate you. We also will talk about what's important to know when you're recording yourself coaching, what the expectations are, how that gets managed, and we'll talk about the application of the PCC markers. Then during your sessions, we'll actually evaluate your recordings and we'll talk about that. Is this going to pass assessment at the ICF? And what's the reason for or against that? To really get there and know when you submit your recording, you want to be confident it's going to pass. We also are doing 5 group sessions that are 90 minutes each. We talk about the competencies and the markers and their application in your work as a coach. And we do laser focus mini coaching sessions with each other for the use of these competencies. It's a wonderful experience, as well as supporting you earning that credential. What's included with all of these programs? All of the materials for classes, the resources on the coach login page after you graduate, the assessments dashboards that we mentioned, and we work really hard on opportunities for you as a coach. So we have a blog and it's a chance for you to get in front of a new audience. We do the free continuing ed, again, an opportunity for you to present to a new audience. We put out a book called Coaching Perspectives. We've done 10 of them, and you have an opportunity to get published in that book as well. We have an online directory for people to find a certified coach. And we have a business development team that is actively working with organizations to secure contracts to provide coaches. And the coaches that we're providing are graduates of our programs. So what's up next for you? First step, you invested your time here today. I'm going to give back to you. You have the option of scheduling a 30-minute call. Now, some people like to use that for Q&A. Some people like to experience a mini coaching session. The choice is yours. What will happen is I will send you the link to this recording on YouTube. And when you receive that, if you reply to my email and request the link to my calendar, I'll send it to you. The next step is the application. Whether you want to start with a certified professional coach or you want to move into one of the cohorts, the application itself is free. In order to hold a spot in the class, it does require paying registration on it. Look at the schedule, make sure the dates and the times work for you, because you want to pick a class where you can attend live. That is going to be an ICF requirement of any training program that you have, that live participation. Thank you, each and every one of you, for being here, for your time, for your interest. Thank you for checking out the Center for Coaching Certification too. I am happy to hang around and answer additional questions. I do realize that many of you had things scheduled. So please know, yes, I'll get the email out with the recording. We can touch base again. Those of you that want to hang around with additional questions, I'm happy to do that as well. So thank you, everyone. Let's see. Somebody asked this question. How much time from application to starting the program? If the program that is scheduled still has openings in it, you can still do the application and join that class. Registration is closed when the class fills up. When that happens, oh gosh, I wish I knew that formula, because sometimes we'll have a class that fills up a month ahead of time, and other times there's space right up to, right before class. So as long as there's an opportunity to join that class, you can do that and move into that. Let's see, in terms of moving from the professional coach to the master coach class, timing's up to you. If you think about the cohorts, you move from one to the next. If you think about the a la carte method, sometimes people take the professional coach class and then come back at a future time for the master coach class because they're managing their schedule and their budget. So the option there, you've got a couple of possibilities for it. Let's see. When it's time to have paid clients, is there a certain amount they have to pay? As far as ICF is concerned, when you're logging those hours, absolutely not. It can be $1. It just doesn't matter. We also often have coaches that barter. When you're first getting started, you do a trade of services. So that's an option. Question: how do you know if the class is open? When you look at our schedule page on the website, it will say apply now if there's still room in the class. If the class is closed, it'll sometimes, I think I changed my language. Sometimes it says registration closed or class is full. That tells you that the class filled up and you can't register for it anymore. So it's still listed there, still have the option of applying for it, then you're good to go. That's how you know on that one. So good question there. And I've got several of you that are saying thank you. I am really glad to hear this was responsive to your questions and what you want to know. Very delighted to have all of you here. Please do feel free to reach out. Let us know what additional questions we can answer or what additional information you want. Happy to have those conversations. So thank you, all of you, for being here. And we do look forward to connecting and working with you on your coaching journey. Have a fabulous day.